What's up, guys? Thursday edition of Cluster Fun. Danny Cunningham, Judd Zulgad, and for the first time on Cluster Fun, Chip Scoggins. Guys, it is an Access Vikings reunion show. I'm so excited to just be a part of this.
I'm gonna tear up here, Chip. You take this over. I can't talk.
Did we tell you about the time we filmed the commercial?
No.
And it was the cheerleader audition?
No, I've not heard of this.
Oh, at Channel 4,
Channel
right?
4,
yeah. Oh, AccessVikings.com.
Are they the only instructions they told us before the shoot was it look dumb or look?
Yeah,
like,
basically
like
look befuddled. Look befuddled.
Look befuddled, or like you're confused.
Yeah.
Or like, don't worry, we got this.
Yeah.
we're gonna nail this one.
Is footage of that available now? Because I think I need to see it.
I've never gone back and looked for
The
it.
premise was we're judging the Vikings cheerleaders auditions, but it came out and it was a man dressed like a Vikings cheerleader.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And he did the routine, and me and Judd were supposed to look at each other like we were confused or befuddled. So we nailed it. We didn't have a line. We just had to look.
Yeah,
we
just
had to
did.
sit there and look confused.
Which is Judd's normal
It was
face.
just us.
The only problem was, as I recall, or among them, Chipper, was that they shot. There was one shot that made it that was like from the back, so it was like us looking up.
Yeah.
And I was carrying even more weight
Couple
then.
walruses.
And so like it looked like I got back fat on TV. I don't like
The
this.
camera adds 10 pounds, Judd.
And then
Our heads were like so big.
and then there was the time when we were stranded in Philadelphia for how long? 3 days? 4 days?
Yes.
In which case we stayed out by the airport because there's supposed to be this terrible snowstorm that delayed the Sunday night game until Tuesday night in 2000. Was that 10?
Yeah, it was a huge dusting though.
Yeah, and then we got 7 inches of snow at the airport. I kid you not. And Chip and I ended up doing one of our videos at the time with a case of Budweiser. I think we aborted the project and decided it was a bad idea. But because of that, you know what? We're classier now. We're doing this baby cluster fun with a bottle of wine.
All right, I do want to get to the Minnesota Twins because they were in a little bit of news yesterday, thanks to you, Judd, with they could be players for both, well, either Craig Kimbrel or Dallas Keuchel. Which one do you think would be a better fit on this ball club?
Well, actually, the Keuchel end was broken by John Heyman, well-known National Baseball writer, and Keuchel's been throwing simulated games of late, and scouts, including the Twins, have shown up. I believe that was Doogie who had that. So I checked, and I was told that it's not just Keuchel, it's Kimbrel. And by the way, it's one or the other.
Not both.
I got notes saying, like, oh, this is great, sign them both. They're not signing them both, folks. Personally, if I was to go with one of those two, Chip, I go Kimbrel. The Keuchel things, it scares me to sign a starter who hasn't pitched. We're going to be into June now. He's not going to be set till July. I guess because of recency bias, I go back to the Lance Lynn debacle and all that. So if I'm going to go with one, despite the fact that he wasn't great in the playoffs for the Red Sox last year, certainly in the World Series, I think I go with Kimbrel.
I do too, because I think if you had to prioritize your starting rotation or your bullpen now in terms of where you need the immediate help, I would say bullpen, even though the bullpen has come through probably better than most of us expected, but part of that is the run support they're getting, and I don't know how many high leverage situations they've had when you're having some of these high scoring games. And so I think I tend to agree with you that I would go Kimbrel, although both would be nice.
Oh my gosh. No, they're not going both. And the thing about the bullpen too to keep in mind is the starters have pitched so well to date that the bullpen hasn't been used much. And of course, the last 2 games of the series that they played against the Brewers at Target Field, Rogers, had some issues there.
Sure.
So if I could add to a place to add depth and quality depth and a guy, and the one thing though with Kimbrel is the explanation to him has to be, you're not a closer here.
Well,
you're a fireman.
But wasn't that the whole holdup, that he wanted to be told, hey, and given the job that you're the closer?
But he's still unemployed now.
Yeah,
yes, it might have
maybe
been.
come off that. But that's the thing. When you look at their bullpen, let's say this is a playoff team and you're going for it. How many guys in the bullpen do you trust right now?
That's the issue.
Going into it.
That's a great yes.
Rogers.
And let me ask you guys this: is if you do add to that bullpen with Craig Kimbrel, do you think that would take away from maybe trading for another starter? Because just because adding to the bullpen doesn't negate the fact that you probably do need one more starter.
I don't think if you're talking about trade versus sign, I don't think it should preclude saying, hey, here's a couple prospects, maybe not our top 2 prospects, but here's a package of prospects to go ahead and get. Because, you started Barrios, Odorizzi, Perez, and Gibson I mean, you feel pretty good, solid 4 right there. But if you could go get another starter and slot everybody down another peg, now you feel really
better.
good.
Boys, I'm going 1-1. You're not going to sign both these guys.
Sure.
But I'm going, if I can sign Keuchel or Kimbrel, it's Kimbrel. But I am, as July progresses and the July 31st trade deadline nears, I'm going out and aggressively pursuing a starter. For me personally, it's Mad Bum. I mean, I love the rental aspect there. If you have success, potentially re-signs, but all I'm saying is they're not going to sign both these guys. But with the window of opportunity here that we're seeing, that this could be a World Series team, 1-1.
That's the thing. Even if it was just a rental, if you had to sacrifice giving up some prospects just for a guy for a short term, I'd do it. Because of what this season showed you, you're not guaranteed to be in this spot again next year or whatever. So go for it.
Or ever again.
Or
Exactly.
so go for it,
Your window. You don't know how long your window is going to be open.
Yeah.
I know the hope is that this is the start of a 4 or 5 year run, but it doesn't always work out like that.
Correct.
Because injuries and guys will regress or have down years, and you never know how many chances you're going to get at the trophy.
And we talked about this on a podcast last week. It's like how many teams currently in American League or baseball now where you're like, all right, everybody's playing for second. That team's just so much better than everybody. There's not that team.
Yeah.
This feels perfect storm-like to me.
Yeah.
And by the way, this group that we're watching actively have so much success right now is not a complete long-term group. Crone's going to be probably gone at some point soon. Scope's going to cash in here, and he absolutely should.
Good for him, yeah.
But everything the Twins did in the short-term plan, Cruz is what? They're 38 at this point. So everything the Twins did in the short-term plan is working. But to me, that means it's time to pounce as well and say, hey, look, if the Sano, Buxton, Barrios group for the next 5 to 8 years can be successful, that's great. But that's got nothing to do with part of this group, which was signed for a short-term, let's see what they can do. And now that group deserves to have guys brought in to help them because they've proven they're a damn good baseball team.
And the thing is, early in the year, everybody said small sample size. Then it's still early. Well, we're past that stage. It's not early. It's not a small sample size. You're seeing this is a really good team.
I mean,
it's not a fluke. So I think if you're Falvey and Levine, you say, okay, this team is legit, and here's our opportunity to go for it.
I mean, every day that passes, I think it becomes harder and harder to envision them not making the playoffs. Like, I don't see a scenario where they're not in the playoffs.
Because your team stinks.
Oh, they're so bad. They are
Stinko Cleveland.
Yeah, that's right.
They are a dumpster fire.
But you know what? The American League Central is bad. But and the other thing about this too that I don't think any of us could have envisioned when the season started in March was this: the American League as a whole is vulnerable.
Yeah.
Sure.
So this is not there's no team, and especially if you add an arm in the bullpen and to the starting rotation, there's no team, Chipper, that you look at and say, man, if you play Houston, you're dead. If you go get Mad Bomb and sign, Kimbrel, you're going to go into a series against Houston. It's going to be tough, but you're going to feel like you have a very good chance to win. Let's say game 2 is 3-2.
Yeah.
This is going to give you an opportunity to win that game.
Yeah,
You're good enough.
It's not like those previous years where you go to Yankee Stadium like, all right, we don't have the firepower, we don't have whatever. You still have to beat those teams because until you prove it, you're still the underdog or whatever. But, I mean, you go in that clubhouse, you watch this team play, they do not fear anyone. They know they're a good team, and they have veterans in there who've been champions. I mean, look at Marwin Gonzalez, you look at Cruz's play, So these guys, I mean, I don't think they would be overwhelmed by a big stage.
Well, and in baseball in the postseason, I think it's the sport more than any other. Maybe hockey's up there too, but anything can happen when you get there. It doesn't matter how good you were in the regular season. Once you get to the playoffs, no matter who you are, you can go out and win it all, and it wouldn't surprise anybody.
It comes back to the starting pitching, right?
I was going to say, hockey, goalie, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Hot goalie. If you get starting pitching, and let's just say 2 guys are lights out, or 1 guy, I mean that could take you a long way. So yes, the Twins said in January we're not quite sure where we are. We think we're going to have a nice team, but you've got a really good team. It's time to supplement that team, and I don't think that you give away future assets that cripple you. But this is a time to dip into that farm system and take a long, hard look at saying, you know what? If we can make the trade, we're going to make the trade.
How many guys are off limits?
Kirilloff, Lewis,
other than that,
Gratterall might be now because he's hurt and he was pitching so well.
But is that off limits, or is that someone else might not want to take a chance on him because he's hurt?
Great question.
Yeah, but I would say you're talking 2 or 3 tops.
If that,
that are okay.
Well, let's
we're
say
not
2.
having that discussion. Yeah,
I
Let's
think
say
it's
2.
I think it's Kirilloff and Lewis, and that's it. Anyone else, if you have a legitimate chance to win the World Series and you go out and do that, you trade whatever you need to trade. You have to do it because chances like this don't come around as often. And say what you want about what the rest of this division looks like right now. For the rest of this window that is opening up for the Twins, it's not always going to be this bad. There are going to be years where you're going to be in a fight for the division. You're not going to have 4 teams that could finish under 500.
But I also look at, you mentioned the older guys, but you look at their core and guys that are really kind of in their prime. You know, Polanco, Rosario, Kepler. You know, let's see what Buxton and Sano do if they keep ascending.
If Buxton can stop running into walls.
If he can stop running,
Or scaling them. Now. That was a scaling problem.
That was.
This is a no scale. This is a no scale month, Byron.
You want to wrap him in
the
bubble
month's almost over. He's only got 2 games left this month.
Yeah.
But this was the problem. Playing him deep works. The problem on Tuesday was he tried to scale that damn fence and he fell and hit his knee on the warning track. So now you got to tell him October. That's a scale month. Other than that, I don't want you scaling that fence.
Yeah, but you can't. Just like anything, Andrew Wiggins, you can't change who a guy is.
Yeah,
I mean that's just his nature. He's
but you can tell him what he can't do. I don't want you scaling that.
Yeah, but I told Andrew Wiggins to not take long twos before, Judd.
In the heat of
I give Buxton more credit.
Moment, and he's thinking, I got to go catch, because Buxton's thinking, I've got to catch everything. He's not thinking, okay, when it's happening, you have, 3 seconds or a split second, whatever it is, to say, okay, I'm going to hit this wall, I can't.
But that's why playing him deep worked, because he was still crashing into walls, just not at high speed. I think now you say, if it's playoff time, go ahead and scale that fence. But other than that, I don't want you scaling any fences. You're not Spider-Man.
It'd be cooler.
But if you tell him we suggest against it, he's gonna do it.
If he was Spider-Man, he'd catch everything though. Yeah. He wouldn't have dropped. He should have caught that ball. Anyway.
That's what I got a text from Danny Cunningham, who was at the game on Tuesday. Just one sentence: he should have caught it.
He should have. It was in his glove. Should have made the catch. But before we get out of here, I want the best Access Vikings story that you guys have for me from back in the day.
Oh boy.
That's a 2-hour episode.
Yeah.
Do you want to go 2009 or 10? The Superdome, when you told me they're going to the Super Bowl, and I said, just wait.
That's probably, the Judd tells the story all the time. 2009, what was the play? The drive.
The Favre interception?
But it was probably like 3 or 4 plays.
It was a Chester Taylor play.
Yeah, it was a first down where it was a critical, I can't remember, but it was on that drive, and I turned to Judd, and I said, oh my God, they're going to the Super Bowl. And he's like, just wait, they'll break your heart.
Yep, and sure
enough.
But 2010 when the snowstorm hit in December and the Metrodome roof collapsed, and they announced that the Vikings were going to have to go to Detroit to play the Giants, and Chip and I met in the airport. Yeah, worked all day
and took the last flight to Detroit, like 10 o'clock or 11.
And I got to the airport, and Chip and I went to a restaurant and had dinner and got a beer, and I just remember we looked at each other and we were both just ashen.
Yeah.
It's like, this cannot, like Detroit, and of all you would have thought that the good Lord was mad at both of us. Because who on earth has to go to Detroit
for a home game?
And then they closed the season at Detroit, so we were in Detroit twice in 3 weeks?
Yeah, 3 weeks. Yeah. But you're sitting there thinking, where are they going to play their games at?
Yeah.
There's no...
Well, and then they would play the Monday night game against the Bears in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that was going to be the Sunday night before that game. It was going to be the 50-year anniversary of the Vikings, and so they had this huge gala set up, and that's why they forced the game in TCF Bank Stadium to be in town, and that's the game, of course, where Chris Kluwe, the punter on Sunday, surmised that the TCF Bank Stadium field was just going to freeze, and he's like, you cannot play this game, someone's going to get killed. And the Vikings are all like, our punter's crazy, don't listen to him. And of course, Favre almost died.
Yeah. Well, the NFL came in and said, he's not wrong. They didn't have heating coils.
No.
It was frozen.
And so they would take, so the day of the game, what they did was they took the tarp and put those heaters and blew them onto the field, which worked up until a certain point, but like at halftime the field was an ice rink. And that's also the game where Favre, and I didn't even know until that day that you could do this, Favre was declared out for that game on the injury report. out. And the Vikings went back on Monday and like made him questionable.
Yeah.
And then he played and darn near got killed.
Wow. Well, what a time. Access Vikings, nothing better. Cluster fun.
And then Chip and I had breakdowns.
Yes, nothing better than their breakdowns. Thanks for watching today. We'll be back tomorrow.